Hello, I guess in this video I'll show you a couple of other measures you can easily put using that same data from the previous video. So what we'll do is we'll look at how to interpret some of these charts, but also how to add some figures. So what I'm going to do is I'll start with an explanation first. Remember, these were the monthly values, some values, so the intensity of the cold based on the daily low, and then the intensity of the cold based on the daily average for each month of the year. And we'd used Meteostat as our data source, and we'd use 2020 as our data set. So I'll go and show you a couple more examples, then I'll show you how to add the formulas using the exact same data. And what I'll do is I'll post a new version of the spreadsheet so you get access to it. So we'll go have a look at Madison, Wisconsin. I'll just close this off so we get to see the whole screen. So you'll notice that I added a new measure here. I call it Forage degree days, and it's in blue. So what this is basically I'm looking at all the cumulative additive type temperature degrees above 10 degrees Celsius. Right now I've got it set on basically a daily chart, so you get to see every day of the year. The reason I use this is, for example, these circles here. Every time you see a blue line, these are potential cleansing flights. Okay, and I'm going to compare Madison, Wisconsin to Whitehorse to show you some of the differences. So you remember this CDD10. So this one is based on the daily average temperature. Okay, so the green is based on, it's the intensity of the cold based on the average temperature, and the red is based on the lowest temperature of that day. So you can see it adds to the value. Okay, and you can see over the summer, most of the temperatures were actually above 10 degrees Celsius. So Wisconsin or Madison has some quite warm evenings, and only a couple of, I guess, mornings over the summer from May to September had temperatures below 10 degrees. And you'd see this is where the CDD low, so using the daily low, comes in handy. Okay, so that's what that is. And then I'll just skip over to Whitehorse. So in Whitehorse, you can see that using, remember, the lowest daily low of each day. So adds a bit to the winter intensity. But where it makes a big difference is in the summer. So all these spikes, pretty much from April all the way to September, you can see there's red below the 0 degree line. So what that tells me, it tells me that the daily low was below 10 degrees Celsius, so very low. So this is one of those reasons why insulating year round in, say, the Yukon Territory where I live is really handy, because it just guarantees the bees won't cluster, and it reduces the stress on that cluster. Because for the typical wooden hive, when they're not brood rearing, will be clustering at temperatures below 10 degrees Celsius. And I guess the other thing you see is these green bars technically show the intensity of heat above 10 degrees Celsius. And then the blue is based on the daily high temperature. Okay, so you can see that our warmest day last year was towards the end of July. Okay, and if you go to Madison, you can say pretty much their whole summer is as hot as that one single day we got in the Yukon. So it's just another way of using these charts. So just to repeat, so the blue is based on the daily high temperature. The red is based on the daily low temperature. and the green is based on the daily average. Okay, so the red below here just shows how much colder the low is to the average. These blue spikes here and there, those are potential cleansing flights. Okay, so a lot of people ask, when should I be wrapping my colonies? Okay, looking at Madison, probably don't really need to worry about it till your daily highs are not so high. It looks like you had a really hot early November last year, so I wouldn't be wrapping my colonies here until sometime in October, uh, depending if this is normal or not. But late October, early November is when I would be wrapping colonies in Madison. And really, it's local and it's based on your conditions. The Yukon, I tend to wrap my colonies towards the end of September. So this drop in October in cold is fairly typical. So my goal is to wrap, pretty much be ready by mid-September to late September, where all my feeding is done by mid-September, and then I'd be wrapping over here towards the end of September. Again, I've got polystyrene hives, and they're good. Technically, I could overwinter with just my polystyrene hives without doing anything special, but I just want them to do really, really well. Hence the reason I add a bit more for my conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to add those features that I added here. Really straightforward. So I'll just go look at the data for Madison, and you'll notice I've simplified the previous calculations. Okay, so this is the data table we collected last time. And these are the columns from L to P are the ones where we will add some formulas. Okay, so just to have a look at the cluster degree days, 10 degrees, I've simplified it. So basically all I did was I went B2, so cell B2, so the average temperature, minus 10. And then it copies it all the way down. And that's all you need to do. The one based on the daily low, all I did was C2, so the T minimum. So I take C2 minus 10, and it copies it all the way down. I'll skip over this diurnal. I may add that in the future, but we'll go to the FDD10. So in this one here, a little bit more complicated because I don't want this to overlap these results. So what I've done is I've just put a quick if statement. Okay, so if T maximum is less than 10 degrees Celsius, make it 0. Okay, I don't want that. That's winter temperature, so I don't want it to show up on my charts. Okay, so if it is greater than, so what it'll do, it'll go T max, so this temperature, minus 10. And then it copies it down. And you can see that it's pretty much 0. And then a few places where it does get above 10 degrees, it'll put 5. And then the month column is exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the Buffalo data and I'll make those changes, and then you can try it yourself. Okay, so you can see Buffalo has the more complicated data, so I'll make it easy. So for this one here, we want to take the average. Okay, so B2, so we'll keep it simple. We'll go B2 minus 10 and see how it copies it all the way down. So for CD low, so again, we're looking at the T min temperature. So this is C2. Technically, I could use this symbol, but we'll keep it simple. We'll just call it C2. C2 minus 10. Remember, C2 is the minimum temperature of the day, so the daily low. You can see how it's slightly, there's a gap here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a column, and we're going to call it FDD10. Okay, once you start playing with these charts and this data, you can make it 8, 6, 5 degrees, whatever you want. You can flip it to Fahrenheit if you're more comfortable in Fahrenheit. Really doesn't matter. Okay, so for this one here, we're going to do the if statement. We're going to go equal. So we'll go if we want Tmax, okay, is less than 10, we're going to make it 0. Otherwise, we're going to go Tmax minus 10. Okay, because we're looking to get the difference in temperature and adding those up, and that's what gives you that intensity. We'll go enter, and there we go. We've got Buffalo done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to its pivot chart, and we're going to make a few changes just to make it a bit more visually pleasant. Okay, so you can see how it's still got the monthly values. So we're going to highlight the table here on the left-hand side because it's a pivot table. First thing you need to do is refresh the data. Okay, so you can see how it overlaps things now. And a lot of times Excel won't show you the fields. So all you need to do is go to the pivot table, and then we want to see the field list. You can see how it pops it up here. I'm going to take the month. I'm going to bring it, let's see. Yeah, so we'll bring it below the month. So we get this chart. You'll say, wow, that's hard to look at. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to pick the date column here, the x-axis, and we're going to make it more visual. So we're going to right click and you go format axis, and we're going to labels, and then we're going to send it low, out of the way. Okay, so we get to see what we're doing. Next thing we're going to do is in design, we're going to add a title for the future. Okay, and I don't like having my legend on the right hand side, so I'm going to move my legend to the top. Okay, almost there. So you can see how I've got a Mac version of Excel. I do have a PC version, but I'm using the Mac version right now. So we're going to go back to the pivot charts. What we're going to do now is we're going to add this FDD in there. Okay, it actually did it already. So I'm going to put it first. Oops. Okay, it's not behaving. There we go. I'll move this down instead. Okay. So you can see it's all these fine lines, kind of hard to look at. I'll just change the title here to Buffalo. Okay. You can play with the formatting and stuff like that. Make it bold, make it bigger. So I'll leave that up to you. There's a lot of things you can do to make it more visually pleasant. So I'll close this for now. And one feature with some of the newer versions of Excel is allows you to do some formatting. Okay, so the previous format is an automatic format, and I've just picked this one here. Okay, so now you can see it's a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so just going to have a quick look at Madison just to see how they were set up. Okay, and I'll go like this. Field settings. I've got FDD, low, and then CDD10. Okay, so we'll do exactly the same thing on this side. We'll go, I think the low was here. Okay, and you get the idea. Okay, so probably need to make it bigger, but you can see this is Buffalo's winter. We can play with the axes. So the other one I think I have minus 55 all the way up to 35. And now I guess the range is the same as the other charts. Okay. And we've got it. So you can see where the buffalo cleansing flights are. So there's one in January, and basically from March starts to be a lot of cleansing flights. Uh, Technically, you could do the math. So what's the date here? So that's January 11th, and then first cleansing flight was 2 months. So you might go 2 months max without a cleansing flight. And again, you see the evenings. So these reds down here would be evenings or low morning lows less than 10 degrees Celsius. Depending how low this is, you could actually figure out. So if it's around 10, okay, these would be frost levels. Okay, so first frost probably doesn't happen till sometime in October. But there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, I'm an engineer, so I like charts. So hopefully I can show you some tricks on how to use some of these tools.